Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev, with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Verse 2. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. Verse 3. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai where his tent had been earlier. Verse 4. And where he had first built an altar, there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Verse 5. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. Verse 6. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not be able to stay together. Verse 7. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at the times. Verse 8. So Abram said to Lot, Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Verse 9. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Verse 10. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plains of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 11. So Lot chose for himself the whole plains of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Verse 12. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Verse 13. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. Verse 14. The Lord said to Abraham after Lot had parted from him, Look around from where you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. Verse 15. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. Verse 16. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Verse 17. Go, walk through the land and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. Verse 18. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. Genesis chapter 14, verse 1. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Ariuth king of Ellasar, Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim. Verse 2. These kings went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Seboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. Verse 3. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Dead Sea Valley. Verse 4. For 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. Verse 5. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephites in Asteroth Karnaim, the Susite in Ham, the Emites in Shavi Kiriatim. Verse 6. And the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran near the desert. Verse 7. Then they turned back and went to En Mizpah, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazezon Tamar. Verse 8. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Seboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim. Verse 9. Against Kedorlaomer king of Elam, Tidal king of Goyim, Amraphel king of Shinar, and Ariuth king of Ellasar, 4 kings against 5. Verse 10. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of their men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. Verse 11. The four kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, then they went away. Verse 12. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Verse 13. A man who had escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre and Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. Verse 14. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. Verse 15. During the night Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. Verse 16. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the woman and the other people. Verse 17. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley. Verse 18. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. Verse 19. And he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. Verse 20. And praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. Verse 21. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. Verse 22. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, With raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. Verse 23. That I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread of the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. Verse 24. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the shares that belongs to the men who went with me. To a man, Eshcol and Mamre, let them